I just earned over 2,000 points on my mortgage payment, and it's got me closer to my dream vacation. And you can do it too. I earned these points on my Mesa Homeowners card with no annual fee and no processing fees. I've had the Mesa card for a couple of months and I've been detailing my experience with it. In this video, I'm going to go over my experiences with the card here in month 2, and I'm also going to bring out some of the questions that I've been asked that I've gotten answers for directly from Mesa. But be sure to stay to the end because I'm going to do a deep dive on each option that you have for redeeming points and going over each of the transfer partners, because it's good earning points, but it's great redeeming them. And I'm even going to make sure to share a few sweet spots on those transfer partners. Now, I'll be completely honest, I was skeptical about the Mesa card to start. It was a completely brand new card and I didn't necessarily know how much I could trust it. Will I earn and redeem points as I expect? And will I actually even have any good options? That's why I wanted to show my experiences and provide you the most comprehensive information regarding Mesa, so that once you have that information, you can decide if Mesa is a card for you or not. So let's start out with the basics of the credit card. It is a no annual fee credit card. And what makes this card special is, as of right now, it is the only credit card that can be able to get you points on your mortgage with no processing fees. Now, you may be thinking, am I actually paying my mortgage with a credit card? And the answer is actually no, you're not. What you'll actually be doing is linking your account that you pay your mortgage from to Mesa along with the amount of your mortgage payment. By linking your account and providing them that mortgage payment amount, it allows Mesa to be able to track when your mortgage payment is made, and so that it can provide you 1 point for every dollar you've spent. Now, in order to qualify for that 1 point per dollar, you do have to spend at least $1,000 on the card in the billing cycle that you intend on getting that mortgage redemption on. Now, having to spend a minimum of $1,000 on a credit card is not ideal, but what they've done is they've learned from Bilt's mistakes with rent. If you're not aware of Bilt, Bilt is the only card that provides you 1 point per dollar on your rent payments with no processing fees. Now, in order to qualify for that 1 point per dollar on your rent, what they require is for you to have a minimum of 5 transactions in the billing cycle that you are seeking to get that 1 point per dollar. And what Bill has told us is that cardholders are spending a very minimal amount on those 5 transactions, much less than they expected, and it's hurting them with their numbers. I think that's why we haven't seen Bill go to mortgages yet, where they've told us that they will be doing mortgages this year in 2025. Before we move to multipliers, if you're finding this information beneficial, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel so that you don't miss a single video or the weekly live stream that I go over all of the news that you need to know for the week. So now let's take a look at the multipliers, and we have a number of categories that fall in the 3X category. We have home improvement expenses, utilities such as gas, electric, cable and internet, as well as water, home maintenance, house cleaning, lawn care, pest prevention, insurance and taxes, home decor and furniture, and daycare. Yes, you heard me right. A card that is going to provide you 3X on your daycare expenses. You'll also get 2X on groceries and gas, 1X on everything else, and of course on your mortgage payments. These multipliers can make it easier and even more beneficial using this card to reach that $1,000 amount. When it comes to the expenditures I've made on this card, month 1 was pretty promising and I had high hopes for month 2, but I actually made a few mistakes and made a couple of bad assumptions. The last mistake was just an absolute rookie mistake that cost me 500 points and a $25 statement credit. I'll be sure to talk to you about that so you don't make that same mistake. So here's my month 2 expenditures. The first one was a membership for $75, which only got me 1X for 75 points. I then had gas as Shell for $45.11, and that got me 2X for 90 points. I then spent $325 with an HVAC vendor for a maintenance agreement, and that got me 3X at 975 points. I then bought some smart thermostats for $278, and I only got 1X on it for 278 points, and that represents mistake number 1. I actually bought the thermostats through my electric service provider with the assumption that I would get 3X on those thermostats. Well, of course, that was an assumption that I made, which was wrong. What the electric service supplier does is they let you purchase it through their marketplace, and it doesn't qualify as 3X. Now, while I did receive a discount on those thermostats, I could have got 3X if I just would have bought them through a Home Depot or a Lowe's. My next expense was $42 through BP gas station. I ended up getting the 2X on it for 85 points. I then ended up having lawn care service for $67.75, and I did get the 3X on it. I then spent $42 at the barber and unfortunately used this card when I should have used a 2X card. I then had gas from Shell for $25.85, and I did get the 2X on that. I then had pest control done for the house at $159.43. Got the 3X on that purchase. Then it was back to BP gas for $42.94. And of course, once again, got the 2X on that purchase. I then had internet for $88, did get the 3X on that. The next purchase was $250 through Thumbtack, and I got 1X on that. And then the last purchase of the month was $21.60 at a restaurant for only 1X. Shouldn't have used the card for that. Now, you may have guessed that the rookie mistake was related to Thumbtack. Why did I only get 1X on that purchase instead of 3X? It was because I was in a rush and I went ahead and paid the bill on the provider's phone instead of going through the app and making the payment there. That mistake cost me 3X on the purchase, and it also cost me the $25 credit that I was allotted by having the Mesa card and using it. So the grand total of what I spent on the card was just over $1,400. I received a total of 2,894 points. Why don't you pause the video right now and determine how much points you can get on this card just with your everyday spend. If this real world breakdown of using the card is helping you, consider sharing this video with someone else that could benefit from it and subscribing to the channel. It helps me to know that I'm providing you information that is truly beneficial. Mesa and earning points on your mortgage is still very new, and so I've received excellent questions along the way. I've gone back to Mesa's customer service a number of times to ask my questions as well as to ask questions that viewers have asked me. So let's go over these questions and hopefully it can help you. So the first question is, what credit bureau did Mesa pull my credit from? And that was actually through Experian only. The next question is, what credit bureaus does Mesa report to? Well, that question is a bit of a work in progress. They say that they report to Experian currently. Now, in month 2 of me having the card, I don't have them actually reporting to any of the credit bureaus as of yet. Hopefully, we'll see that come up in the next 30 days. Now, what they are telling me, though, is that they are working towards reporting to all 3 credit bureaus, but I don't have a date of when they expect to start that. The next question is, what is the access to customer service? Now, if you watched my previous video on the Mesa credit card, you may remember that when I got the card, I only had the ability to send them email, or technically you could send them an actual mail via snail mail. At that time, there was no chat feature and there was no phone number to contact them on, but I did get consistent responses within 24 to 48 hours. Now, by the time that I got my first statement, I did have a phone number showing up on the statement that could be used. Now, it's great to get that customer service phone number so you can actually talk to somebody, but the question is, how good was the service? Now, I actually called the customer service phone number in the twilight hours, 3, 4 in the morning, and I did get to their automated service. Now, you're first asked if you want to leave a voicemail for someone to call you back, or if you actually want to hold. I ended up choosing to hold. Now, I was told with the automated system that I was going to be connected to a customer service representative, but I did have to wait a bit. Eventually, after about 5 or 6 minutes, I got kicked back to having to leave a voicemail, and I did not have any other option. Now, I did reach out to Mesa about what was the actual hours of availability for the customer service phone number, and I was told it was 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and it was still a work in progress, but they also suggested to be able to do emails if you needed to, and I know that I've done emails with them, and they have responded on the weekend sometimes, but That's where they stand with the customer service phone number right now. The customer service number is a toll-free number so that you can end up calling from abroad. The next question I had was, can you make a mortgage payment with an additional payment on your principal? The answer is yes. You just need to change the anticipated mortgage payment for that month to the number that you're going to pay, and you'll still get the credit for it. The next question I had was, can you make bi-weekly payments? And the answer is yes again. You just want to make sure that the anticipated payment you put there for Mesa is the total monthly payment that you're going to make. They will be able to determine that there were 2 biweekly payments that reached that payment amount. I was then asked a very interesting question about if certain MCC codes actually qualified for the 3X. I was asked about MCC 9399, and that was for property taxes, but they coded as miscellaneous. Then it was MCC 7342 for pest control, and then code MCC 1711, which codes as plumbing contractor. Now, I asked about all 3 of those specific codes and was told that they should all qualify as 3X. Now, I did make sure to tell the person, and I would let you all know, be careful and just make sure that it does show up when you do it. It's one thing to hear about it. You have to be able to see it in action to know for sure that it's going to work. Now, I hope that information is helpful. Now, if you have any questions about my use of the card or anything like that, make sure to put them in the comments section. I always make sure to answer those questions and try to get those answers for you. Now, as I said before, it's one thing to earn the points, but the best part is redeeming the points. So now let's talk about the redemption options with Mesa. So the first option is a statement credit, which is definitely not the best use of your points, but it is available if you happen to need it. The value of your points with this option is 0.6 cents per point, and you should be able to see it into your statement as a credit in 24 hours. Now, you cannot use that statement credit towards your minimum monthly payment, though. Now, the second option that you have is for gift cards. Once again, not a great use of the points, but it is available for you. The redemption for that is 0.8 cents per point, and there are a number of gift cards you can choose from. The next option is the travel portal that they have. The travel portal is available for hotels and flights currently. Now, the redemption rates on this do vary, so I did do a couple of examples for both within the United States and if you're traveling abroad. Let's start with a one-night hotel stay at Nomad in Las Vegas. Now, I did this for a one-night stay on July 25th in their Classic King. And on their hotel website, the rate was $459, with $50 of that being the hotel resort fee. Now, the rate that I saw for Mesa was $494.96 all in. If you were using points, it would be 33,800 points. Now, if you compare that point value to the cash cost, you're looking at 1.46 cents per point. One of the things that you can do with the Mesa travel portal is that you can do cash and points and be able to use a slider to pick which numbers fit best for you. The next hotel I looked at was the Park Hyatt Paris Vendôme Hotel for July 25th. Now, the cost to stay there on July 25th for a non-member rate was $1,876.55. Now, of course, to become a member, it doesn't cost you anything. So why don't we actually take a look at what the member rate is? The member rate for that one night is $1,701.84. So what was the cost with the Mesa credit card? Well, it was $1,798.40. If you were to get that room just on points, it would be 143,400 Mesa points. And that redemption rate would essentially get you 1.18 cents per point. So now let's move to the final and the best option to be able to utilize your points, and that is to transfer your points to transfer partners. This is where you can get the maximum value of your points, but it does take a little bit of effort. And I'm going to help you with that because Mesa has a variety of transfer partners currently. It is good to know what each of these transfer partners can be good for and some things to keep in mind. So when it comes to hotels, they have one transfer option, and that is Accor Live Limitless. Accor has a pretty large footprint with 50 different brands and over 5,000 hotels around the world. But for people here in North America, they only have 130 hotels within North America. Now, Accor Live Limitless does have 3 other transfer partners currently, and that is Bilt, Capital One, and Citi. Capital One and Citi have a 2-to-1 redemption rate, so 1,000 of their points to get 500 of Accor Live Limitless points. Now, when it comes to Bilt and Mesa, you do get a better rate of 3-to-2, so 1,500 Mesa points will get you 1,000 Accor Live Limitless points. Now, Accor Live Limitless does have a bit of a different model where you're basically using your points to get a credit. So 2,000 Accor Live Limitless points essentially adds up to, these days, about $44 US. So a $450 room would equate to about needing 20,000 Accor Live Limitless points. Hopefully in the near future, we can see a IHG or a Hilton or a Marriott actually get added to the portfolio. Now, when it comes to airlines, they definitely have been adding some, but let's start with where they started from. And that was with Vietnam Airlines, which is a SkyTeam partner. Their loyalty program is Lotus Smiles. When it comes to using points with Vietnam Airlines, there's a few spots that you might want to consider. One would be using your points to upgrade from economy to maybe business. When it comes to actually flying, you're probably looking at the best use to use those points for purchases to fly within Vietnam, as well as using those points within the region of Southeast Asia. Now, one of the downsides that you have to keep in mind when using Vietnam Airlines Lotus Miles is that unless you're booking for yourself or a child that is 16 or younger, and if you only have entry-level status, you are unable to book flights for anyone else. Now, there can be a couple of workarounds with it. You can buy status, and in some cases, you can do hotel status matching with Vietnam Airlines to get you above that entry-level status. And while calling is required to book partner airline flights, it's even recommended to do that when you're booking Vietnam Airlines just to make sure everything worked out okay. The next airline partner, which was one of the originals, is Hainan Airlines, and their loyalty program is the Fortune Wings Club. Now, Hainan is a China-based airline that was only founded in 1993. They do not belong to any of the 3 major alliances of One World, SkyTeam, or Star Alliance, but they do have some interesting partners. Partners that are outside of the H&A group include Alaska, Etihad, TAP Portugal, and Virgin Atlantic Australia. So let's touch on a bit of the good and not so good. An option could be flying from the East Coast from Boston to Beijing, flying in Hainan Airlines in business class, and that would be 110,000 miles one way. Now, there are also some decent redemption offers to being able to use TAP Portugal. 2 bad things that come with using those miles, and one of them is probably a deal breaker for all of us. The first one is that they do impose fuel surcharges. The second one is if you have to cancel an award flight, you lose all of the miles that you use to book the flight. Sounds like a deal breaker to me. The next airline is Air India, and their loyalty program is the Maharaja Club. Now, they are a member of Star Alliance. Now, as far as good redemptions for this, it really is when you stay in India, flying from Delhi to Mumbai or within the region. Flying from JFK to Delhi would cost you 180,000 points in business class for one way. Now, one excellent feature on Air India's website is a points calculator. And that points calculator can be used to calculate the points flying on Air India from one point to another, but you can also use it for the Star Alliance partners. It was very easy to use, and I'll make sure to put a link for that in the description if you want to play around with it. So now let's move to Thai Airways, which is a Star Alliance partner. And their loyalty program is the Royal Orchid Plus. Now, business class availability on Thai Airways is not always the easiest. Business class availability is normally only between 1 to 3 weeks prior to the flight, and you may only see 1 to 2 seats that you can do on points. Let's talk about the pluses and minuses of Thai Airways Royal Orchid. Ultra long haul flights on Thai Airways can be a good value. They also allow one stopover as well as an open jaw, and intra-region award pricing can be pretty good. A few of the cons end up being that you do get those fuel surcharges applied. You also need to have miles in your account to be able to search for award flights. and working with the website can be a bit of a problem. Another negative is that you commonly will have to cancel and get a new award flight, even if you just have to change your award flight. So based on that information, what are a few sweet spots that you could do with these miles? One of the sweet spots that would be available is flying Thai Airways from Thailand to Dubai in business class for 42,500 miles. You could use your points to upgrade your Thai Airways economy flight to business class, flying from Bangkok to the Middle East, and the cost of that would be 34,000 miles one way. You could also fly Thai Airways to Sydney, Australia in first class, which is about a 9 to 9.5 hour flight, and it would cost you 90,000 miles. Another option would be flying from the United States to South America or Central America in United Polaris, and the cost of that would be 65,000 points. You could also look at an intra-region flight between the United States and the Caribbean in Air Canada's business class. The region of North America and the Caribbean is pretty extensive. The region would include Aruba, Canada, Cuba, Jamaica, and more. So you could be looking at a one-way business class flight for as little as 27,500 miles. The next airline we need to look at is Cathay Pacific, and their loyalty program is Asia Miles. Cathay Pacific is part of One World. Now for Cathay Pacific, there are a few good sweet spots that you could use these miles for. You could fly Cathay Pacific from the West Coast to Hong Kong. In business class, it would be 70,000 miles one way. And if you can find the space, you could do first class for 125,000 miles one way. Now, if you choose to fly from the East Coast, you could do it for 110,000 miles one way in business and 160,000 miles in first class. Another option would be to transfer those Asia miles to Qatar to fly Q Suites to Doha. You could do a one-way flight in Q Suites from the East Coast to the Midwest for 84,000 miles one way, or 110,000 miles one way from the southwest portion of the United States or the West Coast. You could also use these miles to do a one world round the world trip. What could you do with 210,000 Asia miles? Well, you could start off by flying from Los Angeles to Madrid in Iberia business class, and then go from Madrid to Johannesburg, continuing to fly in Iberia business class. Then from Johannesburg to Sydney, Australia in Qantas business class. Then from Sydney to Hong Kong in Cathay Pacific business class. Then Hong Kong to Doha in Cathay Pacific business class. And then last but not least is fly from Doha back to LAX in Q Suites. If you were doing all those flights separately, it could get as high as 400,000 miles. But this can be done at 210. Another airline option would be Finnair, which is the Finland flag-carrying airline. It is a member of One World, and it's actually the 6th oldest airline in the world, beginning back from 1923. And Finnair uses Avios as its currency, which can easily be moved between British Airways, Aer Lingus, Iberia, as well as Qatar. One of the great sweet spots of Finnair's Avios is to fly transcontinental in the United States on American Airlines or Alaska, and you can do that for as little as 11,000 miles one way. You can also use Finnair's Avios to fly from JFK to Hong Kong, and you could do that for as little as 75,000 Avios. One important thing to keep in mind of why you may want to keep the Avios with Finnair versus others is because Finnair's award chart is based on a region, not the miles. So how does that impact a couple of the flights I just mentioned? Well, that transcontinental flight through Finnair at 11,000 Avios would cost you 16,000 Avios if you did it through British Airways. And that Cathay Pacific business flight that I said would be 75,000 Avios through Finnair, if it was through British Airways, it would cost you 108,250 Avios. So while understanding that Avios is a transferable currency amongst multiple airlines, it is important to know the sweet spots of what Finnair itself can be able to do that the others cannot. The next transfer partner is Aeromexico, and they are a member of the SkyTeam Alliance. Now, when it comes to the redemption rates related to Aeromexico, Capital One, Citi, and now Mesa do it on a one-to-one basis. American Express actually does better with a 1 to 1.6 ratio. And when it comes to the pros and cons of utilizing Aeromexico, well, a couple of the cons would be customer service may be a bit difficult to work with. Fuel surcharges would also be another issue. And the change in cancellation fees can be moderately expensive. And when it comes to the pros of Aeromexico, they're one of only 2 SkyTeam members that do round-the-world ticket flights. It can also provide decent redemptions in Southeast Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and North Africa. Mesa has definitely continued to expand their airline transfer partners, and they recently have done 2 additional ones. And let's start with SAS. Mesa is actually the sole transfer partner of any major credit card with SAS. SAS is a member of Star Alliance. A couple of the sweet spots with SAS would be flying Delta to Europe without the surcharges that you would see with Virgin. You could do JFK to Rome in business class for 78,000 miles. Another sweet spot would be domestic flights within Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and within the Nordic region. And that region would include Germany, Poland, Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. Domestic flights could be as little as 10 to 15,000 miles one way. Also keep in mind that one-way redemptions through SAS is normally 60% of a round-trip flight. The second of the newest airlines to join the partnership is Air Canada. Air Canada is part of Star Alliance, and the best way to normally use their points is with transfer partners. One of the best positives is that they don't pass on any fuel surcharges. One redemption is you could fly United Business Class from Los Angeles to Sydney for one way at 75,000 miles. One great sweet spot is flying from the East Coast of the United States to India one way in business class of a Star Alliance partner for 90,000 miles. You could also fly from the United States to South America round trip in United Business Class for as little as 90,000 miles round trip. Another excellent redemption would be flying from the United States to South America on a Star Alliance partner in business class round trip for 100,000 miles. That is a large number of transfer partners that Mesa has already come up with in a very short period of time. And the quality continues to get better. Bottom line, if you have a mortgage of $1,500 or more, and you can easily spend that $1,000 that you need to on the credit card, you could earn 18,000 points or more just on your mortgage. And as these transfer partners continue to improve, so does being able to use these Mesa points to really live out that dream travel you're seeking. Now that you know about the best card for a mortgage holder, you need to know about the best hotel credit card. And it might not be the one you're thinking of. The one I'm talking about provides you excellent status, 4th night free on your award stays, all for an annual fee of under $100. Not having this card can cost you hundreds, possibly thousands over an entire year. And you'll find that card right here.